Hi, friends. Welcome to the Hey Fundraiser podcast. I'm your host, Mary Peterson, and whether you're a frontline fundraiser, an executive director, a board member, or someone just wanting to make an impact in your community, this podcast is for you. We cover all facets of fundraising, and our main objective is to give you ideas and inspiration to help you raise more money. Join us as we grow, learn, and make an impact together. Hey there, fundraisers. Welcome back to the Hey Fundraiser podcast. I'm Mary, and today we are diving deep into one of the most crucial elements of successful major gift fundraising, finding new prospects. Whether you're looking to add a few key players to your portfolio or aiming to build an entire prospect pipeline, today's episode is packed with insights and actionable steps. So grab your coffee, get comfy, and let's talk about finding the right people that are going to take your fundraising to the next level. So with Hey Fundraiser, I offer a free game plan call. This is just, it's free. It's for anybody. It's 45 minutes if they want to chat with me. And in the application to do that 45-minute call, I ask fundraisers, specifically executive directors, directors of development, and major gift officers, what is the biggest challenge you have? And I think there's 5 choices. I mean, it's things like finding creative cultivation techniques, getting in the door with people, actually making the ask. But the number one thing that fundraisers tell me that is the biggest issue they face is finding new prospects. So I thought, I'm just going to put some tips and tricks into this podcast and we'll get started. So there is a fundamental truth in major gift fundraising. And if you take anything away from this podcast, this is the line that is, worth admission, so they say. The quality of your prospects determines the quality of your fundraising results. As fundraisers, we sometimes feel that we need this huge, massive portfolio to help us find success. But here is the reality. A lean, well-curated list of high affinity and high capacity prospects is 1,000 times more valuable than a bloated list of maybes and long shots. Remember, finding prospects isn't just about filling seats in your prospect pool. It's about securing the people most likely to make a meaningful, lasting impact and partner with your mission. So I would keep your portfolio to 50 to 70 prospects that you can close a major gift from in the next 6 to 12 months. When you're thinking about new prospects and you're really looking at lists, there are 2 magic words that come to mind for me: affinity and capacity. And here's why they're so essential. Affinity means this individual or corporation or foundation, if they have high affinity, they love your organization. They care about what you do every single day. So when you're thinking about new prospects, you want to ask yourself, does this individual genuinely connect with my organization's mission and values? Using an affinity-based approach means finding those who are deeply aligned with what you do. And what that does is it leads to real, long, lasting, deep, meaningful donor relationships. So affinity is critical. The other magic word is capacity. So does this person have the financial ability to make a significant gift? And of course, significant is relative to your organization's needs, but ideally you're looking for people who can make a major gift, a stretch gift to your organization. Good prospects have both affinity and capacity. If you have a prospect that has really high affinity, they love your organization, but they don't have the capacity to give, that person makes a great volunteer. That person can help you in many other different ways. They just can't make a gift. On the flip, people who have high capacity and low affinity are probably not going to make a gift, or they're going to make what I like to call a go away gift. Like, oh, here's $1,000. Just leave me alone. Here's $5,000. Just go away. I speak in another podcast about had lunch with this woman in Seattle, and I worked, well, I don't want to tell you where I worked yet, but I sit down to lunch and she gushed about the local humane society and her alma mater. I didn't work for either one of those institutions. So I left that lunch, even though she was a multi-millionaire who could have made, I mean, literally could have made easily a $10 million gift. She did not make the cut to get into my portfolio. Now, I know that's hard for some fundraisers, and it used to be hard for me too. It was very difficult for me to bless and release. But when prospects have really high capacity, but they just don't have the affinity for your organization, there are better people to pursue, better prospects to pursue. And I know we all want a gift from Bill Gates. We all want a gift from Mackenzie Scott. But unless you have that she or he has the affinity for your organization, you're probably not going to get a gift. And many times fundraisers will think, well, they have the capacity. I can educate them and build the affinity. That is very difficult. And it's really the long game. And at the end of the day, if it takes you 5 years to close a gift, then your mission, whether it's animals or kids or health or education or all the other things that our sector is charged with, your clients and those you serve have waited when you could have pursued other gifts and gotten those in the door. So I just want to kind of drive home affinity and capacity. You have to have both. So the first thing that I advise my coaching clients is to look in the donor pool, the current donor pool. Your CRM is your best tool in your toolkit. You want to dig into your database and see if any existing donors are ready to be moved up the ladder. This is like an upgrade approach. It's been wildly successful for many major gift officers who, like you, have limited time but want to maximize interaction. I'm not sure if you know this. I haven't not really talked about my other company on this podcast, but I actually have another company called Databasey. And Databasey is built to help nonprofits utilize their data, whether it's cleaning up their data, whether it's building custom reports, prospect research, things like that. And over the last 10 years that Databasey has been in existence, I have learned that a nonprofit's database is a goldmine of potential that is often overlooked because we're just so busy searching externally. Here's the fact. Some of your best future major donors are already hiding in plain sight right there in your system. The trick is to approach it with a strategy that focuses on key indicators. So I want to give a couple examples. The first is I would start by pulling a list or, working with your database admin to help you generate a list of mid-level donors. These are donors who have shown consistent support but have not yet made a major gift. And look at those trends. Look at the frequency of gifts. Have they started giving more than once in a year? Have they started giving recurring gifts? What has their engagement been over time? Were they just, making an annual gift, but all of a sudden they've started coming to events and they've started coming to stewardship events and they're making more gifts, like just little things that often get overlooked that really help you see prospects that are actually self-identifying. They are raising their hand and saying, I'm giving more. I'm thinking about you more. I'm giving you more time. And as fundraisers, we often don't look at those individuals. So a donor who recently upgraded, who was giving, let's say $100 a year, and all of a sudden they give $1,000 gift. That person deserves a call. That person should be taken out for coffee and asked, really solid questions about, what inspired you to give 10x your normal gift. Mid-level donors are often your most reliable pipeline because they've already invested in your organization. Now it's just helping them envision a larger gift and a larger impact in what your organization does for the world. Now, I have a mentor. She was my mentor years ago, my very first fundraising boss, who I adore, and I learned so much from her. She taught me that if someone gives you $1,000 a year for 3 consecutive years, you should ask that person for a $10,000 commitment. Now, you're probably thinking, oh my gosh, like that's a lot. However, I've probably done this hundreds of times. I've looked at people who are giving $1,000 for 3 years or more and asked for a $10,000 commitment. I mean, you'd be shocked. Most people, if they're giving $1,000 a year, first of all, they don't have to give the 10K right away. They can pledge it over 5 years, which would be doubling their gift for the next 5 years, 2K a year. Most of my donors, though, would either pledge it over 2 or 3 years. So they're giving $5,000 a year or 33.33 a year. It is shocking how effective that one tactic is. So kind of put that in your back pocket. Next, I want you to consider your lapsed major donors. If a donor once gave significantly, but hasn't been active in recent years, it might be worth reaching out to see what's changed. I mean, life happens, priorities shift, things go sideways, but a thoughtful re-engagement can reawaken their connection to your mission. And lapsed donors have already seen the impact of their support once, so they're most likely to be able to, or to be open to rekindling that commitment. It's very interesting to me that there's often storytelling within organizations. So, for example, you might have somebody who's been raising money and they've been with your organization for 20 years. And you come in and you say, oh, well, I've got this lapsed major donor and I kind of want to reach out and ask, them to meet for coffee. And that person that has been there for 20 years might say, I would not do that. Like they left on a bad note, they had a bad experience, whatever it is. But here's the thing. Most people, if it's a new, fresh face that's calling and wanting to get to know them, most people are open to that. And I don't think we should make decisions on behalf of our donors. If it were me, I would say, thanks, colleague, for the advice. And I would call that lapsed donor. If they're willing to give time and sit down for a meeting, I'm that much closer to rekindling the relationship. And sometimes they just need to vent. And if they need to vent to me to get past whatever they need to get past, I'm okay with that. Whatever helps them heal. But there's often a lot of storytelling about why we shouldn't get in touch with lapsed major donors. And I would just urge you to gently push back on that. I mean, let the donor decide, do they want to sit down for coffee or not? Now, the other way a lot of organizations use their data to find new prospects is through wealth screening. And of course, wealth screening, you're going to gain a lot of insight into donors' financial capacities. So you're going to find out, do they have a family foundation? Have they given to other gifts or to other organizations, and what's the monetary value of those gifts? You might even have relationship science or something that helps you understand who is in your donor pool's networks. Wealth screening is a fantastic tool. And I have my favorite wealth screening tool that I will never give up. But here's the thing. It should not be the sole factor driving your strategy. One, high capacity is a wonderful discovery, but remember, it has to be paired with genuine affinity for your organization. We all want to go after Bill Gates, but unless you work for like global health organization, you might not get a gift. The other thing is that wealth screening should be directional. People are very, very savvy at hiding wealth these days. And so you don't always get the full picture, and it's better to qualify them in person. Like you might know that they've given a $5,000 gift to the local humane society and the local hospital every year. But the best thing to do is sit down with them and ask really authentic questions like, what was your most favorite gift that you've ever given? And tell me why it was your favorite. Wealth screening is not going to tell you that. The only person that can tell you that is the actual donor. So wealth screening is amazing, and it's going to help you spot hidden gems among long-term donors who have kind of steadily supported you, but it's very directional. So rather than jumping into cultivation based on wealth data alone, like really take a moment to validate affinity through some sort of engagement metrics. This person might be very wealthy and have all the resources in the world, but are they volunteering? Are they coming to events? Are they on your newsletter list? Are they opening your emails? Just see if they're engaging in any way. And that's really going to help save you time. So these are just some of the indicators that can confirm potential prospects as serious prospects. So I want to pivot a little bit and talk about network expansion. So we've talked about mining your database. We've talked about wealth screening. One of the things that most fundraising consultants out there will tell you is to leverage your board and your campaign volunteers. So that is wonderful in concept, but I want to talk about the power of your organization's network. It is true that your board and your key campaign volunteers have vast networks that are often completely untapped, frankly. And you do want to train your board and you want to engage them. They can bring new prospects in. They can open doors for you. The challenge is that I have never, in 25 years of fundraising, I've never experienced a sophisticated board that helped me raise money. I had gems. I had board members who I could count on to host something at their home, but they didn't want to invite their friends. Or I would have board members who were amazing at closing corporate sponsorships, but they didn't want to ask their own company to give. So it was almost like this 2-step forward, 1-step back situation. And I realized, and this took me many, many years, that you can't really leverage your board and your campaign volunteers until you've done a couple things with them. First and foremost, you have to share your goals with the board, and you have to really explain, what does a great prospect look like? I mean, literally have them think through affinity and capacity. I mean, everything I've said on this podcast should be repeated to your board. Secondly, I mean, you want to encourage them to think about their networks, but not really just a list of potential donors. Like, oh, can you have something at your home and just invite like 50 people? Well, at that point, they're like, okay, do I know 50 people? Okay, I could get my mother-in-law there. I could get some neighbors and some close friends. This is really about quality over quantity, because you want your board members to be successful in their fundraising pursuits. And the more honed in they are, and the more focused, like laser focused they are, the more success they'll have. And then the more success they have, the more they're going to continue to lean in. The other thing that I also encourage my clients to do is educate your board on how revenue comes to your organization. And I'm not talking financial statements. I'm not talking P&L. I'm not talking balance sheets. I mean, these are all things that your board is looking at. I'm literally talking about, here are the 4 ways that people make gifts. They give through annual giving. They give through our signature events. They give through personal solicitation, or we have grants. I mean, I'm just making this up. But once board members actually understand your philanthropic landscape, then they understand how to plug in. So you might say to them, board, this year, I really am hoping to have you focus on corporate sponsorships. And here's a toolkit, and here's what we're looking for. But, only 5% of our revenue comes from corporate dollars, and we'd like to take that up to 18%. And so that's going to increase our revenue from, 20,000 to 55,000. Like, give them a goal. Help them understand how their goal is going to help you. I mean, most fundraisers, and I do mean this with love, but most fundraisers are so busy. They kind of spin their board members around and throw them on the dance floor, and then they have another party to go to. So they bounce. Whereas I feel like if you can just nurture it a little more, that your board members actually will open up their networks. Now, again, I have never experienced, me personally, fundraising for an organization. I have never experienced an entire board leaning in and helping me fundraise. But I have worked with organizations that I've consulted that have amazing boards. And those are the kind of things they do with them. They give them very specific goals. The board knows how money comes in. They make it very targeted. They just don't say, hey, we need your help raising 100,000. Very targeted. So if you can count on your board to bring in new prospects, then this is another great way. They just need to be educated on capacity and affinity. Now, one of the things that is very critical is once you find a new prospect is you have to qualify them. Qualification is probably one of the most important and often overlooked moves management stages. Qualification allows you to understand how connected they are to your organization. And this is where the affinity comes in. And I would even say, capacity is great. Affinity weighs a lot. Affinity is so absolutely critical because if they don't care, then they don't care. So with the qualification process, this is where discovery calls, a meeting, your first meeting kind of come into play, and you really need to determine if the prospect has capacity and affinity. So there are several questions that you want to ask on that first meeting that are going to help you understand, is this person, should they be in my portfolio, or should I thank them for their time and bless and release? So things like, what interests you about our organization? Or, what other causes do you support? Like, is our organization in your top 3 charities, top 5 charities? And, what are those other organizations? The other biggie is asking them, what is their philanthropic vision? Like, what is the change they want to make in the world? Because as fundraisers, it's our job to help facilitate our organization's vision, the donor's vision, and how those two things can work together. So these qualification moments, this is your moment to learn about them, but also to set some boundaries for yourself and your portfolio. So if you get a meeting with a new prospect, which is always very exciting because the possibilities are endless, but I don't want you to feel pressured to keep every person you meet with in your prospect pool. You have to bless and release when necessary. It's okay if a prospect doesn't align with the organization. It's okay. What you do is you keep it friendly, you keep it professional, and you move on. It's kind of like that woman who, talked about the Humane Society and the local hospital, it was the Humane Society and her alma mater. And I didn't work for those organizations. I was not going to spend the next 2 years trying to build affinity with her. I thanked her for her time, told her I was going to keep her on the communication lists, gave her my card, and we separated ways, and that was okay. The other thing that I just want to bring up is trust. When you find a new prospect, one of the best things you can do is to build a sense of trust from the very first moment that you're interacting with this prospect. So here at Hey Fundraiser, we call those sticky trust strategies. They're small, but really impactful ways to create a connection. One of those ways is to genuinely care about what their values and their interests are. And these are also things that you can ask during qualification. Like if you're getting to know someone and you're present, you're authentically wanting to know is this person a good fit for our organization? Is our organization a good fit for this person? That really speaks volume. Just being present, being authentic, and showing curiosity. In fact, it is much better to be interested than interesting. So another sticky trust strategy is to listen more than you talk. I've had a lot of fundraisers. I've been on a lot of visits, as a major gift coach with my coaching clients. And I'm often shocked at how in a first meeting with a prospect or donor, because they, most have been giving to the organization already, that the fundraiser feels like they need to educate them about A and B and C. And then, I've got to tell them about X, Y, and Z. And all of a sudden the meeting's over and we have not learned anything about the prospect. Like the prospect has had no airtime. So that genuine curiosity and the concept of being interested instead of interesting immediately builds trust. The other thing that's really important and kind of sets the foundation for trust is respecting their time and not rushing the process. Trust takes time. Raising major gifts take time. So again, you're going to authentically show up. You're going to make decisions, and you're going to know by the end of that meeting if this person is a good fit for your portfolio or not. So those were just a few sticky trust strategies. We have dozens of others, but that will kind of get you started. So my hope, fundraiser, is that this inspires you to go out and kind of tackle finding new prospects. I think with a bit of patience and intention, mining your database can reveal incredible potential. Revisiting your mid-level donors, reconnecting with your lapsed major donors, using your wealth screening wisely, right? You're not just filling your portfolio, you're creating opportunities for supporters to deepen their impact. This helps create a very transformational experience. So if you have questions or thoughts, or you want to schedule a game plan call yourself, you can always go to heyfundraiser.com/book. And that is it for today's episode. If you loved this conversation, I've got more resources on qualification and building your dream portfolio at our blog over on heyfundraiser.com. And I'm also going to link a couple things to the show notes today. So check that out for even more ways to set yourself up for major gift success. Happy prospecting. And until next time, keep doing your awesome work that you do every day. Hey fundraiser, thanks so much for being here today. Did you know that we create a special page for each episode that contains helpful links, episode highlights, standout quotes, and freebies? Check it out in today's podcast description. If you loved what you heard today, would you kindly give us a rating and review? It really helps other fundraising professionals find our Hey Fundraiser community. I'm Mary Peterson, and thank you for listening.